Hey, welcome to session 2. You made it through session 1. Way to go. Typically, we'd start the session with dwelling in the Word, but I want us to engage in conversation with one another of what that practice was like for you from session 1. Again, that practice was to write out what is the good news that Jesus offers us. Like, what is that definition? And then the second part was to share, to have a conversation with someone you felt comfortable with and ask them some good news that's going on in their lives or a highlight of their summer, of their day, of what's happening in their lives. And again, that was to just change a practice, to engage with people in a different way in that level 1 conversation. And so what we're going to do is you can do this in 2 ways, and I'll let you guys decide. You can either turn and talk and partner up and hear the other person's version of good news and their experience of talking with somebody, or you can do this as a whole group and hear from everybody. We're going to take 15 minutes for this, so make sure you give yourself enough time if you're going to partner up, and give your partner enough time too, or give the whole group enough time for that. And if you choose to go longer, that's okay, because you are in control of this video and you can pause it now, and then as soon as we're done pausing with your time, we'll go into dwelling in the Word. So go ahead and put pause on this and have some conversations around your session 1 practice. Dwelling in the Word. Again, dwelling in the Word is an ancient practice brought into this modern world. And dwelling in the Word makes the Scripture come alive for us today. It's not just an object, but it's alive in you and I, and we can engage in what God is speaking to us individually and as a whole group. Again, I will read the passage 2 times, and we'll have a pause between each time and a pause after. And then what you'll be doing is focusing on 3 questions again. What seems important to you in this passage? What questions does the text raise? What might God be saying to you and to us in this passage? You don't have to answer all 3 of them, but make sure you focus on one of them so that you can share with a partner. And when you share with a partner, what you're going to be doing is listening to that other partner. Make sure you know their name, look them in the eye, and to listen to what they're saying. Do your best not to share a response or that happened to me, or correct them on what they had got out of it. Just listening to them so that you can share with the whole group of their response. Again, we'll read it 2 times, have some silence. And the 3 questions again are: what seems important to you in the passage? What questions does the text raise? What might God be saying to you or to us in this text? Today's passage comes from John 15, verses 1 through 17. And I will read again from 2 different versions. The first version will be the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition. And we'll have some silence after. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, to make it bear more fruit. You have already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are gathered, thrown into a fire, and burned. If you abide in me and in my words, in you, ask for whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, I will abide, and you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I've called you friends, because I've made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You do not choose me, but I chose you. I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. I'm giving you these commands so that you may love one another. Again, we'll pause to reflect on the questions. What sticks out to you in this text? What questions come up? And what might the passage be saying to you and I? John 15 again, 1 through verse 17. I'll be reading from the Message version. I am the real vine, and my Father is the farmer. He cuts off every branch of me that doesn't bear grapes, and every branch that is grape-bearing, he prunes it back so it will bear even more. You already pruned back by the message I have spoken. Live in me. Make your home in me just as I do in you. In the same way that a branch can't bear grapes by itself, but only by being joined to the vine. You can't bear fruit unless you're joined with me. I am the vine, you are the branches. When you're joined with me, and I with you, the relation intimate and organic, the harvest is sure to be abundant. Separated, you can't produce a thing. Anyone who separates from me is dead wood, gathered up and thrown into a bonfire. But if you make yourselves at home with me, and my words are at home in you, you can be sure that whatever you ask will be listened to and acted upon. This is how my Father shows who he is. When you produce grapes, when you mature as my disciples. I've loved you the way my Father has loved me. Make yourselves at home in my love. If you keep my commands, you'll remain intimately at home in my love. That's what I've done. Kept my Father's commands and made myself at home in his love. I've told you these things for a purpose, that my joy might be your joy, and your joy wholly mature. This is my command. Love one another the way I have loved you. This is the very best way to love. Put your life on the line for your friends. You are my friends. When you do these things, I command you. I'm no longer calling you servants, because servants do not understand what their master is thinking and planning. Now I've named you friends because I've let you in on everything I've learned from the Father. You didn't choose me. Remember, I chose you and put you in the world to bear fruit. Fruit that won't spoil. As fruit bearers, whatever you ask in the Father in relation to me, he gives you. But remember the root command, love one another. We'll take a few moments to reflect on this passage. Again, what seems important to you in this passage? What questions does the text raise? What might God be saying to you or to us in this text? All right, what I'd like you to do next is to partner up with someone that you feel comfortable with. I want you to listen to what your partner is saying. Be sure you know their name, look them in the eye, and engage into what they're saying. Do your best not to chime in or to add on to what they've said or to share a personal story. Just listen to what they're saying. They'll do the same for you. We'll do this in a partner, 5 minutes each partner, so 10 minutes total. And then we'll go into a large group setting and you'll share what you heard your partner saying. And again, so it's 5 minutes for each partner, and then we'll do a group share for about 10 minutes. You are in control of this, so if you need a little bit longer time to share as a group, feel free to pause this video longer. That's just fine. But right now, partner up and then gather back into a large group setting. Again, 10 minutes for the partner share, 10, 15 minutes for the next whole group share, and we'll continue on in the video. So go ahead and hit pause here and we'll continue on. All right, welcome back from your share. Hopefully you were able to engage in the scripture in maybe in a new way. Maybe new questions came up. Maybe God was speaking to you and there was themes that came up for you all as a group. What I want us to do next is we're going to take a look at Simon Sinek. If for those who maybe haven't heard of Simon Sinek, he's a well-known author and he has this purpose of why. But prior to his why book, Finding the Meaning in Our Why, he talks about kindness. This video is about 3 minutes long. And what I want you to do is watch it and maybe reflect. How does this relate to John 15? How does this relate to Isaiah 61? How does this relate to our good news? After watching the video, we'll listen to a little bit more video and then I'll give you some practice things to take home. Take a look at Simon Sinek's video on kindness. I believe that God invites us into kindness, that Jesus wants us to be kind. The fruits of the Spirit, we're bearing fruit. Kindness is a simple thing. It's very simple. A couple of years ago, I was working part-time at the Costco gas station. Super exciting job where there's 20 some gas pumps, and I just went and helped people when they needed help. Talked to a bunch of different people and got to know some people. And one of the people that came in, if they had a handicap sticker or they just weren't physically able or willing to fill up their tank, they would honk their horn, wave, and we would come by and help them out. There's one particular individual, she had this vehicle that just had the worst annoying car horn. She would honk it and it would be just terrible. I couldn't stand it. And so I associated her car horn to her personality, to her as a person. The annoying car horn became an annoying person to help. So I'd help. I'd do very little interaction, very little engaging, a lot of the surface level. How are you? Regular. Do you want a receipt? Here you go. Have a good day. Then I had a coworker challenge me. She didn't know the situation with this car horn lady at all, but she was just saying, you know, I'm really grateful that we get to fill up people's cars for those who can't do it or are unable to do it. And she shared how if her mom was alive, her mom had passed, that she would want to treat her mom well, that she would hope that any Costco gas station employee would treat her mom with kindness. And so she said, anytime I'm filling up somebody's car that's unable or that isn't doing it, she thinks of her mom. And she wants to treat that person as if it were her mom. And me, a Christ follower, was really convicted by that. Am I treating that person as if it were my mom or my grandma? Or am I treating that person as somebody created in the image of God? That changed the whole narrative in my mind. So when that annoying horn honked, I had to change who I thought of that person. I ended up getting to know her just a little bit through the short 1-2 minute interactions that we had. I learned her name was Gretchen. I learned that she kind of worked at Cub Foods and she helped out with some COVID-19 testing and vaccinations. And she was an elderly lady and she was just home alone. And so each time she'd fill up, my face would turn to a smile to engage her in a whole new way. Knowing that the gas station was a part-time job, I turned in my notice. She found out that I turned in my notice. And so she came in, and it was like a week before I was done. And she said to me, I heard you're quitting, Elliot. I heard you're done. I said, yeah, this was a part-time gig. I have a full-time job, as you know, and my family. It will be a good transition for us to have more family time. And she said, well, I'm really happy for you. And then she changed. She kind of sat a little bit lower in her car. Her eyes teared up a little bit. And she looked at me right in the eyes and she said, Elliot, why me? Why did you treat me so well? I had no idea. I had no idea that my little actions of kindness, prompted by a coworker who wanted to treat everyone as if they were her mother, that it would have such an impact. Again, I was part-time. I saw her maybe twice a month, 3 times at the most. I share this story for 2 reasons. One, out of a conviction I had of realizing the everyday people I engage with can have an impact, even if it's short, small increments of engagement. 2, what it does for them. I don't know the rest of Gretchen's story. I don't know if she's continuing to get gas there. I don't know her health. But I do know that God is continuing to work in her life. I do know that I was able to spread some good news. Good news of a person being seen and heard, valued and cared for. My response to her wasn't this huge evangelical come to Jesus type moment. My response to her was, Gretchen, I'm a person that believes everybody just wants to be seen and everybody wants to be known. And I was thankful that I got to know you. I was thankful that I got to fill up your tank for you. I don't remember the rest of the conversation, but I remember reflecting back and being like, oh man, why didn't I say I'm a person that believes that Jesus loves you, that Jesus is in your life and that he can, continue to be with you. But I do believe that God is working in her life. That even though I didn't say the name Jesus, that I didn't invite her to any church program or anything, that she experienced some good fruit. She experienced some kindness. Kindness that Sinek talked about. So, your practice this week is to write out what difference does it make to be a Christian and acting in kindness than not a Christian. Like, what's the difference? Christian kindness and non-Christian kindness. What's the biggest difference? What difference is it to you? And what does that mean? And I'm going to give you a little hint. Maybe it's connected to session 1's question, the good news. Think about that this week. Write it out so that you can bring it to session 3 and share it with someone. And then I want you to do the second practice, is to share, to have a conversation. So have a conversation you feel comfortable with and ask them to tell you a story of how someone acted in genuine kindness towards them. And maybe it's you sharing a story first. Asking the question, hey, can you share a story of some genuine kindness? And while you're thinking, I want to share a story that I have of someone who acted in kindness to me. Again, this practice changes how we start to engage with people. It goes beyond the surface level questions of how are you? And it allows the person to share something good that's been going on in their lives. Again, write out what difference does acting in kindness as a Christian and non-Christian, and then having a conversation with somebody of when they experience some genuine kindness in their lives. And session 3 will start up with engaging in those conversations of what that practice was like for you. We'll see you in session 3.